Hi, welcome back. This is Christy with Guidepost to Wellness, and welcome to any new viewers to the channel. This channel is focused on anything and everything that has to do with wellness, and especially focused for folks that have either an autoimmune disease or a chronic disorder. And that's why today I wanted to talk about something that is called exercise intolerance. Now, this can strike anyone that either has never really exercised, can have a chronic disease or something of that nature, and especially those that have an autoimmune disease. So in essence, exercise intolerance is when you have the inability or decreased ability to do physical exercise or activity that would be considered normal for other folks of the same demographic. So for example, if you exercise and you're exercising with a buddy perhaps, and your buddy can do, they're the same general demographic, and they can do the exercise, and after a day or two of rest they rebound, but you instead have more severe fatigue, pain, even nausea, vomiting, or things of that nature, then you might have exercise intolerance. So it's something that can definitely be worked through, and that's why I wanted to talk about it, because this is something that took me a long time to understand and realize for myself. And that's why I really like working with Andrea with Get Autoimmune Strong as well, because she gets it, she understands. So stress is something that it can be a good thing. So when we're exercising, we're putting a stress on our body, and our body's going to adapt, but it's going to go through any of the stress-related physiological symptoms that we're going to see. So you're going to increase cortisol levels potentially, you're going to have a bunch of neurochemicals released, all of the things that can be very positive about exercise and why it's important for folks even with a chronic disease or an autoimmune disease to do. So all the benefits are released during that exercise, whether it's neurochemical that helps with relaxation, stress management, decreasing anxiety, decreasing depression, any of those types of things, to the overall physical strengthening effects that we want to have, whether it's cardio that's going to increase our lungs and heart more, or if it's muscular. So exercise is really important for anybody and everybody. We all need to get out and move, probably more than what we're already doing. But if you do have exercise intolerance, then that can be really challenging. So for example, there have been periods in my life where I've been much fitter than I am right now because I was exercising quite a bit, whether I was doing Taebo, which I love to do, and I'll use that as an example of one of my most recent flare-ups. So I had been exercising regularly, increasing the level of intensity and the duration and all that kind of stuff, and would feel really good after I finished exercising, like right after, which is always a pretty good sign. But then the day after, I'd be exhausted. And I mean not just normal, tired, and a little stiff, but truly, for me, I always kind of used to feel like I'd been beaten with baseball bats or something. And that's with me and my fibromyalgia and different things. But having that increased level of true fatigue and soreness that causes you not to be able to exercise again for days, even weeks, that's a sign of exercise intolerance. So that's why it can be different for every person. It can depend on what type of autoimmune or chronic illness that you have. It could be just general fatigue, or if you have a very specific type of illness, for example, like Crohn's or IBS or something of that nature, then you could see a flare-up in those specific symptoms. If it's something more like Hashimoto's thyroiditis, then that could be the real debilitating fatigue and the aches and the pains. If it's fibromyalgia, then it could be the increase in those trigger points. So all of those things are part of what exercise intolerance is. But the key thing is it's not about saying, okay, well, I have exercise intolerance, so I just can't and don't exercise. That's not the right answer. The answer is finding a program and a pace and a frequency that works for you to slowly build past and through the intolerance levels so that you can keep exercising more and more and more, and feeling the natural forms of fatigue and muscle aches from using those muscles, but not having the debilitating type of flare-up that can occur. And again, I can't speak enough for Get Autoimmune Strong's program, because Andrea has 2 autoimmune disorders, and she did the same thing that I did many, many times, would be exercising more and more and more and feeling good, and then hit a wall and not be able to exercise for quite a while. And so she actually went and became certified as a personal trainer so that she could learn more about the true mechanics and how to design proper exercise programs. And then she designed one for herself, tested it on herself, and then turned it into an outstanding program. I'll put links below for the other videos, and this isn't just all about Get Autoimmune Strong, but I like it because it takes the thought process out, and it allows me to trust somebody who really gets it. I don't have to try to find a personal trainer that understands and can really work with me. I don't have to try to figure it out on my own. So that's why I like that program. Another program that I like, and I've done some videos on, and I'm looking forward to, my goal is October 1st to start One and Done again with Meredith, because that's an outstanding program as well. It's just up a few notches, even for me to start. It was a little bit too hard before, and I had to step back and build up with Autoimmune Strong. So that's the key thing, is whenever you're going to be working with exercise intolerance, you're always going to have to push your level just enough, but not too high. And that's where it's important to realize the components that you need to work within. Frequency. One of the things that can happen to any of us is we want it now. We want to be in shape now. We want to drop weight now. We want to do all those things now, even though we didn't get out of shape. We didn't gain the weight. We didn't do all those things overnight, but we want the results right away. And that can be one of the most challenging things to work around. And that was one of the things that I definitely did, is I would work out too often, trying to get that extra benefit, and then actually just stressing my body too much. So frequency is important, and it may mean that you exercise one day, rest 2, and that is not an uncommon thing to do, especially with some type of resistance training. So it's going to really depend on how much stress you're doing. If it's just taking a gentle, slow walk with the dog around the block, that's something you can do every day. But then if you're going to pick up the pace or do something a little bit more, push that envelope a little bit more, then maybe you do that one day and rest 2. You may have to do it one day and rest 3, and work yourself up, so where hopefully you're getting to the point of doing some type of light cardio several times a week, and then doing some type of resistance training, which I'm going to talk about in another video, at least twice a week. The duration is another factor. So there are actual studies that will show that even for a healthy athlete, that if you exercise for too long of a duration, you're definitely going to spike cortisol. And that's for a healthy, in shape, fit athlete. For someone with an autoimmune disease where cortisol is the enemy for that type of stress on the body, then you're going to want to keep the duration shorter. And that's another thing that's great about both One and Done program and Get Autoimmune Strong, is that they're very short duration. That myth about having to do aerobics for hours and hours and hours at a time and all those types of things, I've done that. I was in the military and was exercising 6 to 8 hours a day at one point during a summer program, and I dropped weight, and I was probably the strongest muscularly that I ever been, but physically I was exhausted, emotionally I was exhausted. So you have to look at all of that in balance, the duration, and start out. And even when it comes to building healthy habits, I've talked about this before in other videos too, start out just a couple of minutes. Start out just a couple of reps. I mentioned this a little bit with the frequency, but I'll hit it again. Intensity. Intensity is another thing that's really important to understand. You want to feel like you've done something, but when it comes to the exercise intolerance, then you're going to want to not push it too hard. And that can be a really hard one, because you want to break a sweat, You want to feel like you've really done something, but sometimes that can be really just too much for you. So you have to make sure that you dial back the intensity. Again, that's why I like the 2 programs that you'll hear me talking about a lot, and I'll keep that type of eye towards any program that I do, which is allowing for kicking back on the intensity, building up slowly on the intensity. Those are important things. And then the type of exercise I think is really important is just to find something that you enjoy. I'll give another example here. Everybody thinks that running is, supposed to be this great fitness tool, and especially being in the military, I used to set Army physical fitness test goals for myself, even when I was out of the Army, and have to run 2 miles. And I am not kidding you. I would run, and I wouldn't feel too bad while I was actually doing it on the treadmill or actually running. But it was like as soon as I stopped, I just hurt all over. And I just wouldn't listen to myself that, hey, this is not good for me. Your body doesn't like this. This is not the type of exercise that you need to do. So walking, hiking in the woods, that is far more my pace when it comes to things like that. I'm not a big bike rider. I like to swim, just that one obviously takes a pull and can be a little bit more challenging to find. So finding a type of exercise that you enjoy. I'm going to do a review on one that I actually really, really like, and it's called Simply Fit Twisty Board. So find something that you enjoy and find a way to do it that you enjoy. And then another thing with the type I think that's important to realize too is mix it up so you don't get bored. So those are some of the things that I think it's really important to realize, that if you have exercise intolerance, it is not impossible to exercise, but you really have to rein yourself in. At least I do. Some people may not have to rein themselves in, and they just may need to just go slow and steady. But others like me, and I know Andrea from her information that she shared, she was the same way, where you can't do it too much, you can't do it too hard until you build up to a certain point. And the rest days, that's one of the things that I don't think is emphasized enough, is getting the rest in between. And I'm an advocate of quality sleep, so that's one of them. But even just the general rest times in between the exercise periods are so, so important. So if twice a week is all you can do, some type of light resistance training, walking a few days a week, or just walking a little bit more each day, then that's fine, and that's where you start. So if you're interested in any of the reviews, I'll put those down below for the programs that I've used. I'm going to continue to do some more reviews on products that I like to use, but again, from this lens of looking at how can I make sure that I reduce any type of exercise flare-ups, and how they can be modified for folks that are just starting out, all those types of things. So I will put reviews, videos down below for Get Autoimmune Strong, which is the one I'm working on currently. My goal is to get back to One and Done with Meredith Shirk. I believe that's right, Shirk. In October 1st, I figured One and Done October would be a good goal to shoot for, because I do love her program, and I'm going to talk more about the different types of resistance training, and you'll see I'll analyze both these programs again and take a look at them from that perspective. But I'll put those links down below. I'd love to hear your comments and your thoughts. If you've had any challenges with any type of exercise intolerance, have you found a program that works for you? Please share. Love to hear from you. And otherwise, be well.